the No Limit Selling Podcast, where mindset meets sales and leadership. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast. Today I'm really happy and excited to talk to Aleasha Bahr. She is the black sheep of the sales family, and you've heard of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman? Well, Aleasha is the $50 million woman. That's what she's done in sales so far and counting. Aleasha, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Umar. I'm very excited to be here.
So right off the bat, as soon as I realized you were coming on the show, it's like the black sheep sales method. What on earth is that? So why don't we kick off there? What is the black sheep?
Yeah, well, the black sheep sales method is if it's a fit, it's a fact, and there's no selling involved, which is very different from mainstream sales because not everybody is a fit.
Right, yeah. But some people have a fit, so it kind of works out.
Well, we don't want them as clients. That would count as not a fit if somebody's having a fit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially like done for you service providers who only need, I don't know, less than 25 clients. You don't need volume. It doesn't need to be a numbers game.
You need quality.
You need quality. So it's really about who's a fit, and it's okay that someone's not a fit, and let me point you to the person who can actually help you. And that is very different from what most sales approaches are.
Cool. Well, absolutely. So black sheep that way. And then, of course, what came to mind, I was raised in England. And, of course, we all sang, "Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool?" Did you guys sing it here in the States?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, wow. It's got more popular than I thought. So let's talk. So where did you start your sales career?
Yeah. So I started selling marketing for a big corporate digital agency. Actually, it was at a newspaper in Austin, and it was Cox Media, who had a lot of digital capabilities. So it was really trying to transition the print clients into digital clients and stuff like that. So worked on a lot of big contracts, every type of industry, real estate, automotive, retail, small business, big business. And it was like also a buffet of sales styles. So I was always kind of a natural seller. And anybody who's a natural seller does this fitting thing without realizing it. So whenever you ask a natural seller, like, how are you so good at sales? Like, why is everybody moving forward? And they'll say, well, I don't really sell. And it's like, well, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm just trying to understand the other person's situation. And if what I'm offering isn't what they need, I tell them that. And it establishes more trust than anything else.
Absolutely. And I think just adding to that is most people especially this day and age, are craving for attention. It's oftentimes we're talking to our family members and they've got taking kids to soccer practice, doing this, doing that. We're all so busy. And if we can just attend to someone, ask them really good questions, they feel heard, which doesn't happen often. And that's a huge way of building trust. And once you have trust, that's the underpinning of sales, right?
Yeah. So you'll find that if you tell somebody, actually, you don't need this, you need this other thing. So go to this other person, you'll find that that person will come back and that person will refer other people because you are one of the few people they can actually trust to tell them if that doesn't make sense for them to buy your stuff.
Makes perfect sense. So you started there. And so tell me about one of your early sales adventures where things turned out quite badly, like one of those learning lessons where you kind of walked away going, I've got this epiphany that's going to help me in the future.
I don't know so much. So, I mean, when I had to work with automotive clients, those were almost always really unpleasant.
Really? Because they live and die by the advertising, right? So why are they so difficult?
Well, the general manager of an automotive store is not somebody who necessarily went to college or got a degree or has any kind of understanding about marketing at all.
So that would have been the general sales manager or a different manager?
the general sales managers who you're going to
Okay.
talk to about
Right.
buying advertising. And they really got in their position by having the most testosterone and being the loudest, like
Mm,
alpha beating their chest.
yes.
So they like to bully salespeople because everybody is coming into that automotive dealership trying to sell them advertising. And so they're like, they know you want their money. They have huge budgets and they'll just scream at you and say the weirdest stuff and just pretty much do anything they want because you don't have a choice. You have to deal with it. So,
Mm.
um,
Oh, we were
I
talking about people having fits, and that's a good example.
yeah, and like, it wasn't my own business, it was somebody else's business. So I would go out with Paul, they were Paul's clients, and I would sell them into digital and stuff. And Paul would just, take a lot of abuse, basically. He was like, when I see Jim, one of the guys, Jim, I think it was Hyundai. He was like, when his vein starts popping out in his forehead, I just tell him I'm gonna leave. It's like, okay. And also like if you have a meeting at an automotive dealership, this is one that I learned, and you go and they don't see you,
Mm.
if you sit longer than 30 minutes, it's not good. Like it sets a precedent. So you leave because they will think that you're not worth respecting, basically.
Yeah, very alpha
I'm
alpha
telling you.
male territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, but like not a real alpha, you know what I mean? Like what a satire of an alpha would be.
Right. Which is more dangerous.
Yeah, because they're not actually secure in themselves. Yeah.
All right. So, who's the best salesperson you've come across so far? Someone you went, oh, that person's good. So I'll tell you mine. I was used to run a video store when you had to pay $100 membership to join, to have the privilege of being able to rent movies.
Ah,
And the guy from Hitachi came to sell us. He was the general manager there, selling us TVs and VCRs to resell. And he also worked part time at an appliance store. And what was interesting was he was the number one salesperson for Hitachi and the number one salesperson for the appliance store, although he only worked part time. And the
interesting.
thing that struck me was this: he was like the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. Just, hey, what's going on? Basically, what's the problem? How can I help you? Kind of approach. And I didn't realize that that was also sales. I thought it was like, hey, Aleasha, you want this. You got to have this. Like really pushy, but that was not the case. It was like opened my eyes at, I was probably like 20 and was like, wow, like you can just be somebody that helps people out and be great at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you talked about lessons, so the guy Paul, who was the automotive dealer, um, account manager, he definitely I loved watching his style. I wouldn't do the things everything that he did, but one of the things he really helped me with was follow up. So he was like, you just want to follow up in a way that adds value to their life.
Mm.
So you don't want to say, I'm just checking in, let me know if you have any questions. And you want to make it extremely short. So, like, he would take, when I was first starting to work with him, he's like, this is way too long. He would like cut so much of it, make it 2 sentences, and then add something that's making the other person's life better. And that's something that I've definitely taken with me throughout my sales career. Um, I think that I'm most often impressed with like door to door people.
Oh
I don't know.
yeah, they rock.
Just like, yeah. And I do hire for sales teams sometimes and have managed sales teams. And my favorite person to hire is somebody who got their experience doing door to door because everything else is cake.
Yeah, they're bulletproof.
Yeah. So,
The
yeah.
So brilliant. So actually, that actually adds something that I'm going to write down, which is a brilliant piece of advice that Paul gave you: is keep it short but add value. If you're not adding value, there's no point writing it. And it's about the other person, not us. And the words to live by. And it's like it is so obvious that probably 90% of salespeople overlook it.
Yeah, they're just checking in. Let me know if you have any questions. Following up, circling back, touching base. Like, don't. Think about when you receive that email. Do you want to respond to that? Because the person's basically like, are you going to buy my thing? Are you going to buy my thing? Are you going to buy
Yep.
my thing? And it's like, this is all about you and none about me. You're not adding any value to my life. You don't have my best interests in mind at all. And there's a lot of ways that you can bring value to someone's life, even if it's just like a funny meme.
Yeah, I mean, it's a friend of mine were thinking about what are the best sales movies we've come across, and just creating that list, which would be something good to share with other salespeople. Like, what's your favorite sales movie?
Man, I don't like any of the sales movies, Umar.
Really?
I mean, yeah, like Boiler Room,
Oh, check out The Big Kahuna.
okay,
I think you'll
okay.
like that. It's about this sales conference. They're trying to close this guy, and this younger account executive happens to have something in common with the guy, and they kind of put him out front. It was actually quite charming, and it wasn't like a boiler room kind of like slammy, spammy kind of thing,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool.
Or like Wolf of Wall Street. I'm just like, these poor people, it's just like scamming people. Okay, this is terrible to watch. Like,
So I'll give you one. Also, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which doesn't seem like a salesy movie, but you saw it, right?
I haven't.
See that one? It's like one charming scene. They've don't have any money and they need to do something. So John Candy starts selling shower curtain rings as earrings so they can make money and continue their journey. It's just so charming. And you can imagine John Candy.
That's
So you train other people on the black sheep methodology.
yes.
So what typically happens is a sales trainer comes and does training on whatever they do training on, and a certain percentage of people in the room go, "Oh my god, I've seen the light. I'm going to run with this."
Yeah.
And then a certain group of people say, "This is the most amazing training we've ever seen and won't change a single thing." And there's people in the middle that'll try some things. So in your experience, what percentage of people like just go, "Oh my god," and just run with it, whereas other people need some coaching to get more familiar with it? What percentage of people do you think just kind of get it?
I mean, the way I explain things is very implementable. So
Oh,
there are
nice.
lots of people who implement my strategy and get results. It's just if they want even better results,
Mm,
then they can work with me because the methodology I lay out is a great structure for a transparent conversation that's going to end in a sale. But you can't predict every way that a conversation could go. There are a lot of unexpected things that come up in a sales conversation, weird questions, or like somebody who wants to take the conversation on a hard left detour, and these other layers of sales skills that you need
mm,
to keep a conversation on track or handle uncomfortable situations. And also, like when somebody's buying something, it triggers fear a lot of the
mm.
time. Like the buyer, every buyer thinks, "Am I going to be an exception? Is this going to be a waste of money? Am I going to be wrong?" Right before they make the investment. So there are these like softer skills that are going to make a huge difference in your results beyond the initial difference that you see when you just adopt the original methodology.
Makes sense. So the start of any sales adventure is getting that person to interact with you, whether it's a Zoom call or it's a phone call or a personal visit. So, what are some tips that you have to actually get somebody to say, "Yes, it's worth me spending time with you. I'll give you 10 minutes on the phone Thursday afternoons." How do you get that first appointment? What are three tips that people could implement?
Yeah, you're talking about cold outreach.
Cold outreach, and you could warm it up some, but a cold outreach, you're like, "Hey, this is your territory. Go out there and prosper."
So I know it's crazy, but I don't really like cold outreach. If there, I really like to give as a way. If I'm going to do cold outreach, I'm giving first.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So offering something that they want. Maybe it is coming on my podcast. Maybe it's an introduction to somebody else. Maybe it's we could do referral business together, or honestly, like market research can be such a valuable experience too. And you offer them in exchange for the market research, something that they want, like maybe part of your service or something else because their time isn't free. Um, so if there's a way to like offer something of value first, that's really my preferred way to do
Which is
cold.
awesome. So give me a real life example. You don't have to name names, but I was working with this client, and this is what they created to give an offer to have that conversation. Can you give it so we know the industry and what the offer was? It makes it more real for people to understand what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So for example, I work with somebody who's a great LinkedIn trainer.
Mm,
They got this link for people to get a free 60 days with LinkedIn Premier.
Wow. So like the sales navigator kind of thing.
Yeah. And so they were able to offer that to people and start a discussion, because if you want to know like more effective ways to use it and how to position yourself with it, let me
Oh,
know.
that's genius.
Yeah.
And I would say, I'm just spitballing here, you know the right number. If they sent it out to 10 people unsolicited, I would imagine at least 2 or 3 would take them up on it. And then out of those, probably all of them would say, yeah, show me how to use it effectively, because it is overwhelming because it's got so many options. Oh, did they get better stats about that? Do you know?
So he's really intentional with who he sends it with. So I think everybody took him up on it, and it
Oh,
has
wow.
converted to
Tell them to
clients.
send it to me. I'll take them up on it.
So you can't have ever had it before is the only thing.
Darn it. I can go into witness protection, change my name. All right. So that's a good way of actually getting an intro into the account. So I did this survey of sales managers, about 140 of them. Like, where do most people get stuck, as in your people?
Yeah.
And number one was first appointments. And
Yeah.
number two was actually closing
Oh my God, yes.
the deal. So let's give some, what tips do you have to actually close the account?
Yeah. So the questions that people don't ask are, is that investment realistic for you right now?
Right. Budget.
Can I understand like what's going on? And where does this fall in priorities for you right now? It's like a really important question. And what's your timeline for making it?
Uh,
And all of those answers are going to help you tremendously with moving forward, because a lot of times people maybe like, for example, I was just presenting to some social media managers. So I'll use that as an
mhm.
example. Um, you know, it takes 30 to 60 days to research and set up a strategy before implementing it. So if you need results by a certain date, I'm going to let you know that we need at least 60 days before that date to start. So
Right.
being able to have that conversation with them, is that realistic for you to be able to make it that decision by that time, knowing that that's the runway that we have? It becomes a very collaborative process. And it's a lot easier for somebody to move forward because there's clear like reasons, natural reasons to do it. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's the base. A lot of times, going back to basic selling infrastructure is like, do you have a budget? How do you make the decision? When do you want to do this? How does this align? And all of that comes down to my ability to connect with you as a prospect. And if I can do it human to human, whereas like we start building this relationship, it makes the ability to ask probing questions so much easier, because they want to chat with you and let you know what's going on. It's when you uh, are disingenuous, like it's all about me and what I want to sell. People can sense it. We've got like a super long history of people living or dying by the way they could actually read someone when we were coming out of the caves. Is that a friend or a foe?
Yeah.
And even though I'm like really nice and slick and I sound really nice, you can sense when I'm actually disingenuous or I'm trying to sell you something. I'm saying the right things, but people pick up that so easily.
Yeah.
But if you
It's
can be
called,
that person that wants to connect and help and problem solve, goes a long, long way.
I mean, you really like the goal of a sales meeting in my methodology is understanding the other person with
Mm,
absolute clarity. So, like, what's your situation? What have you tried before? Why didn't it work? Okay, that makes sense. Do you think that this would work better? This is what I would suggest. Is that similar to what you tried before? Is it different? Is it more effective? So, I think in when the intention is naturally to understand the other person and how to help them, it's a lot easier to have a transparent conversation. And if somebody's just like super skeptical and weird, you can say, you seem really skeptical and I'm not here to convince you to do anything. What would be most beneficial for you?
yeah, makes perfect sense. And just adding to what you said, it's like when I want to understand you, Aleasha, uh, one of the ways I can understand you is to ask really good questions. And a byproduct of that is oftentimes you get to understand the situation much more deeply and much more accurately by me asking that. And that's one of the gifts we can give people, is they're like, oh yeah, Yeah, this is what I want. And so, yeah, I think that's the job of salespeople, is to give insights, solve problems, give insights, and that's how you get lifelong customers.
I totally agree. Like if you're getting clarity, the other person's getting clarity at the same time, and
Mm.
it is a gift. And I'm all about a method called pitch weaving, which is empathy and insights. That's the
Mm.
formula. When you ask somebody a question and they give you an answer, you don't just go to the next question, because like the typical sales process is almost like an interrogation
Oh,
and then
yeah.
a pitch. So instead, make it a conversation. When you get an answer to a question, provide an insight and give them empathy in response to their answer, instead of just acting like they didn't say anything and you just go on to the next question. It's like what we do in normal conversation, and it absolutely applies to sales conversations too.
Unless you're talking to your husband. Well, never mind. That's a different topic altogether. Uh, so, what are some misconceptions that people still have around sales that you could address that would give them that epiphany and that insight?
Well, I say in my world, sales is not a numbers game. So when you stop treating people like numbers, you'll find that it's not a numbers game. So especially if you're going for quality over quantity, if you need to like, if you're like mass messaging people for a huge company, that's totally different. But a lot of people think like, oh, well, I see that I have 10 calls and 2 people close. So if I want 4 people to close, I need 20 calls. But
Mm.
really, you could just close more of the 10. It's not always about more leads and volume, which is like a big misconception. Also, the misconception that I number one hate the most is that you have to get rejected hundreds of times to be good at sales. And I have a friend going through this right now with a sales coach who's like, you just need to cold call. You just need to cold call. There's no guide for how to do it. Just figure it out, and it's going to build resilience. And there are lots of ways to build resilience that don't simultaneously destroy your confidence. Um,
Agreed. So, just to answer your thought, I think when we have the sense of it's a numbers game, it is a numbers game. But if you change the meaning of it, it's like it's an improvement game. So yeah, in the first 100 calls, I'm getting 2 out of 10 people closing. But as I'm going, if I'm looking at how do I improve, then the next 100 that might go to 4 or 5 out of 10. So one of the things I do with clients is say, okay, uh, what do we learn? What do we need to do better? And then just iterate yourself into greatness. And I think that, at least from my point of view, is a much better way to go than to just torture your soul and your psyche with just getting rejection.
yeah, like be intentional about who you're reaching out to. Don't just like reach out to someone because they have a pulse, you know,
Yeah,
and let them know with intention why you chose to contact them. You're not just contacting anybody. Make them feel special in a way. Only if they really are. Like I don't know, don't make up anything, but it's just a different approach, a different mindset shift.
absolutely. And well, before we part company, uh, do you have a question for me in regards to sales or whatever,
Sure.
or brand of coffee?
Where did you get started in sales?
It was selling newspapers door to door as a teenager, and being awful at it, and not collecting enough money. It was like a disaster. So it was like a horrible, horrible thing to do. And I was horrible at it. But later on, here's an interesting thing. I used to be a VP of a company, and we had manufacturers reps around the country. And I would go and I would close phenomenally well. And what
Yeah.
I didn't realize was the manufacturer's rep had a trusted relationship with the buyer for Best Buy or uh, Amazon, and I was leveraging their relationship and just talking
Oh,
about it. So I thought,
I'm
I am
amazing.
freaking fantastic. I am awesome. And then after a while, I realized, no. this is not selling. This is just, showing up as I'm the warm-up band,
Yeah,
basically. They're
that's
coming
so
to see Pink Floyd. I'm just opening up for them and actually selling them what we're selling, but they're doing all the hard work. So yeah, it's kind of interesting as you go. And people that are great at selling, one thing they have in common is that they're always looking to improve and they're always learning. And if they can get not 1% better, if they can get 0.001% better, uh, it's a happy day for them. And I think
yeah.
then you have another class of salespeople that's, we've tried that before. This is the way you do it, and this is the only way. And I think that's a good way to be a salesperson that can earn an income, but not achieve greatness.
I would totally agree. There's a lot of factors that play into sales being effective for a person, and personality, background, and experience are going to make a big difference. And one size fits all strategies worked really well for one person, the person who created it.
Mm.
And then they said everyone else can sell exactly like me, but everybody has different audiences and past experiences and strengths and weaknesses.
And then to add to that, that the environment of selling is changing in flux all the time as well. And then things that were effective way back when just aren't anymore. So yeah, you got to keep your finger on the pulse and be relevant to your audience. And was there a question that I should have asked you that I did not?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I think we touched on a lot of things. It
You
depends on
did.
really what your audience is about. I mean, one message that I definitely like to leave people with is that please do not feel pressure to do something that doesn't feel good to you, because if you don't feel good delivering it, the other person can tell. And there's
Mm.
no reason for you to do something out of alignment. And this is a message that Black sheep often get: pressure to conform to whatever the majority says is the way to do it. And all that matters is what gets you results. If what you,
Hallelujah.
yeah, if you do something different and it gets results, tell everyone else to sod off.
Words to live by. Aleasha, thank you so much for being on the program. I enjoyed our conversation, and I'm looking forward to our next.
Me too, Umar. Thank you so much for having me.
And dear listeners and viewers, we'll be putting all the contact information for Aleasha in the show notes so you can find her easily. And Aleasha, stay online for a moment as we sign off so we can have a quick chat.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.